Greetings. Thank you for being here. Oh, wow. There's so much going on. It's almost too weird to do like a normal video and stay focused because, oh my goodness. So before I go in, mostly today is there's a few things. So I'm not even gonna, we'll start with some of the energies going on. We'll just start right there. So, okay. If you've watched some of my old videos, I talked about there's more than one moon. Okay? So is this isn't supposed, okay. And the other thing is, if we're always talking about how NASA isn't always telling us the truth, then why are we if I see this moon, I don't know. I feel the moon. I've always felt it. And Great Mother has shown me that there's more than one moon and there's more than one sun. And that they are constantly trying to keep us from seeing these things or being aware of them. So the fact that it's coming into sight or it's coming into our knowledge or they're sharing it with the world, I think is one thing. And then I think it's another to actually be able to see it. They say you'll be able to see it with a telescope. Did I say telegraph? Maybe. Send a telegraph to the star. To the asteroid. I think that there are things. I think this is all. Because what does the moon work with? Your emotions. And it's feminine. Oh! And I found this guy on Instagram, and he was showing proof, he says, that... I'm sorry, dude. Did I start following you? Can't remember. I can't remember his name. But it wasn't me, and I wish I did remember his name so I can give him credit. Mentions that the pyramids and some of their devices were meant to control the moon. And what did I say? I said, Great Mother already showed me that we control the stars and the moon. I know it sounds crazy. Even when I talked about in Tiamat and I talk about Marduk, these are, I take a breath because I'm very excited. If one of the laws of the universe is all is mental, or if this is one of the Hermetic principles, all is mental, then doesn't that apply to the stars? All is mental. We've all agreed upon that this is what it is. And so because we've all agreed upon it, this is what the reality shows us back. Doesn't that mean we literally created the stars and the moon and the sun? Doesn't that mean we created everything with our mind and Great Mother's mind or Great Creator's mind? Or is it all one? So I'm saying this in the sense of when it comes to what we're being told in the world today, so one, we know this. Great Mother, the remembrances, the reminders, the knowings. We have been doing this for a while. Look at your old journals. Look at your old dream books. You've been doing this for years. We've been doing this for years. Just now, everything's starting to catch up. It's crazy because I was looking at some of my old journals. I literally wrote about today in the 90s, in the late 90s, and like right before 2000. 20-something years ago. Because pattern recognition, kind of watching what was going on in the world. I'm not the only one. There's tons of us who have done that. And now it's showing up. And so those are reminders. Those are reminders of like, you've known this is the time. But also during this time, recognize what they are doing with the emotions. If there are two bodies, if there's another body of mass that has the capability to be in our gravitational magnetic energy, of course it's going to affect us and it's going to do certain things. Mama T did great video recently about the energies? Absolutely. That's absolutely what's going on. That's the same message I got. It's going to be emotions, psychic ability, and the Great Mother. And this energy of like double, or at least an addition to. How many of you have been having weird stuff happen? Like, I don't know, body-wise, you might be noticing different things in the body. You might have noticed things with your animals lately. Have you guys know? I've actually noticed them being like way more peaceful and way just almost more in tune. And even the wild animals. How about the trees? Have you guys noticed some difference in that? Like everything else is aware of what's going on. We don't need the news to tell us. So, yes. So with that is going to be a lot of emotional manipulation as much as possible, and total distractions and things that you have no control over, or seldom, or think that you have no control over, because let me just remind you again, we absolutely have control over weather, the elements, the forces. But if we're working and we're distracted and we're in fear, or we're worried about who's telling us what when it comes to not farms, not cleaning up our food, not where are the homeless, what happened to all the homeless people, where are they at? Oh, AI can pull up something about some Starfleet coming from outer space, but they don't have any information on the homeless. And why isn't anybody talking about that? You know why? Because there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on that has everyone distracted and or sad, or literally in a situation where they need people. They need us to help them. And a lot of us aren't even in a position to help them, because we are stuck in that same system. So, let's see. Fixing it, we can't really fix it. Being aware, and then, yes, to me it's like be aware, and then as best you can, let other people know. Know your surroundings as best you can also. Like what you could eat, if everything. Where there might be, because most of the trees and weeds and things around us are edible. They're not going to taste very good, probably used to, the world stuff, but I don't know how I think the best way to stop the system is, yes, awareness, and then whatever it is that you personally think that you can do or know that you can do that will stifle the powers that are fading. So you don't spend money somewhere. Maybe you stop eating meat. Maybe you don't give vaccines to, your kids anymore, or certain things. I mean, I don't have children, so I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. I'm just saying, you yourself in this time of like emotional manipulation, total distraction, not total distraction, because some of the things that are coming out need to be shown. I did say in a video from a few years ago that Great Mother was going to start kind of basically cleansing the lands in the ways that she deems necessary. And this is not, anyhow, sad things happen when destruction happens. So I'll just say that. Also, that part of us that can meditate and focus on certain parts of the world and slow down, whether evaporate, whether have trees talking to other trees, which they're already doing, but we can help influence that stuff. That is not, and then if you are actually capable and have the means, yeah, if you can help, right? But also, that's what I was saying, like these things are being shown because these things have been happening. They've been happening, and the only way for them to change is for the awareness and basically the lifting of the veil for us to see. Okay, I then wanted to give a lot of focus on so we're going to talk a little tiny bit about the calendar. I didn't bring it in here. Good grief. It's a new moon. Oh, okay. Well, we just ended the new moon, so we would be starting the month over, and we would be it would be Earth Day on the old calendar. It would be Mars and possibly Earth for today. But I haven't done any writing, but because we just had the new moon, that helps a lot. It helps me kind of see where we're at, and that's what the moon has shown me through studying her, is the Gregorian calendar will have things happen. And that's the other thing, like when it comes to gematria, that's really showing up too. So I began this with the intention of also talking about some of the North American indigenous deities, especially a specific tribe. So I have done some great research on the Sailish, tribe, which is also known as Sailish, and a name I may not be able to pronounce, but these people are predominantly the Pacific Northwest of the Americas, so parts of Oregon, Washington, mostly to the coast, but they do go inland, all the way up through Canada, and almost to Alaska, as far as like along, I apologize, not that far up, but over towards Montana and that area. And there are many names for the peoples. Their story is expansive because their languages stretch from the northern part of North America. You guys see my right there. To they're like all this area right here. Okay, so and what I learned about these peoples is in the description. So most of what I read came from French, who described them. And again, we have a description of woolly, coarse hair. Some of them described it as coarse, like the hair on a pig or a boar. And if most people aren't aware, but pig hair is extremely coarse. It's almost like a needle. It's almost like, it's coarse like a pine needle, but stronger, like thicker, like it's bendable. It wouldn't break. And that their skin was extremely dark. And there has been different descriptions, but predominantly they were hunters and pelters. Like they had beaver pelts and raccoon and that type of thing. They were well known for that, apparently, from what the French said. Now, the reason why I'm going into that is because in their tradition, as far as the creation deity, they have. I mostly got distracted by the names because they end with things like, okay, give me a moment. So I have to research because I got so much information. Oh, that's it. Okay. I got so much information, and then I started looking up other things. But I know I was on the right path because when I went research how I got here, because where I ended up was they were talking about the Atronta, and these are okay, give me a second here. Yeah, I did start it. All right, this is from 1639, describing Huron, the area, the people. They are robust. This is through my research of the Sailish peoples. Okay, the Jesuit relations of 1639 describe the Huron as they are robust, and all are much taller than the French. Their only covering is beaver skin, which they wear upon their shoulders in the form of a mantle. Shoes and leggings in winter, a tobacco pouch behind the back, a pipe in the hand, around their necks and arms, bead necklaces and bracelets of porcelain. They also suspended these from their ears and around their locks of hair. They grease their hair and faces. They also streak their faces with black and red paint. And this is part of like around Lake Huron. All right. And then, okay. I found some interesting things. Like you see some Hebrew. So this is a picture of the indigenous of the area, and you can see above is some Hebrew. Let me see the Hebrew up there. Okay. And then, okay. So one of the names of the tribes, and this is parts of North America, Wendat, 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 like Wajet or Soapdet, Wendat. Okay, that's one of the names. And then another name that had me being like, wait a second. Oh man, did I not write it down? Ah, I didn't. I thought I did. Oh gosh, write it down, but I didn't save it, I guess. Was, okay, well, let's take the time and look it up right now. Okay, because I had found, so I wanted to look stuff up because I went to school in the area where the Sailish people were in their land, okay? And I wanted to learn a little bit more, so when I went into the Sailish people, this is where I learned like their oral narratives, the parts where they're at. The language is called Sailish languages, and they inhabit British Columbia, Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. And then it goes into great. So there are the Kalispel, which are the interior Sailish people. There are a group of people whose name I am not even going to try to pronounce, but those are a coastal Sailish people. And then there are the Sailish people. Okay, now in here, what did I discover? So in the genres, there's two basic groups, but okay. And so I went all the way. There's the Montana Sailish, which are also, they have a there's anyhow. there's a lot of connections, and they also have a very strong coyote narrative. So you'll hear that in a lot of indigenous groups is the coyote deity or the coyote energy. And in this particular clan or tribe, the coyote is similar to what one of our great deities might be like, or I shouldn't say ours because I'm not, but a colonized Christian-based kind of idea, okay? And so we have the group that is Washington area, and then we have the group that are considered the interior, Sailish, and one of their supreme deities was named Amotkin. 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 Like Akhenaten? And the 10 or Ken comes from this land. And this was so there's stories, but this supreme deity was a kind elderly man who lives in heaven. So is this kind of where that's where the colonized people got the story? He created 5 women from his hair, so that's one creative story. But the one I originally came here to speak about is not him, okay? And we will get to the deity in just a moment. Also, we have the coastal or a coast Sailish people, and they have another kind of creator deity that was an old ugly woman or an ogress, and of course it's a story about her stealing children away. I start to wonder, like you see this across the board in almost all deity stories and almost all the stories. Like I'm starting to wonder, because one of my friends were talking about also like the firstborn male, and then how the mother would have been with him, and then maybe how other women would have been with. But the constant story of like the old mean woman stealing children. I'm not saying that it's not true, but it's so consistent. Is it true or is it changed? Because why do we have the story of Saturn eating his babies when all the planets were female first? So it's just, is it about eating, is consuming and doing this weird whatever, but and stealing? I feel like, because you don't really, I don't know. I feel like these are patriarchal stories, is my point. To bring fear in a way that isn't uplifting for the woman, for the female. Okay, and then the Sailish. And that's how it's spelled. But they also have a whole tradition around the Sasquatch and have literal, like, for real. This is for real to them. This isn't some conspiracy of people trying to find the Yeti or the Sasquatch. This is part of their story. And you will find other tribal peoples who have similar stories. So, especially here in Oregon. Like, if you want to check out, like, there's a whole thing in Eugene. I found some information. I even think I have an old video talking all about some of the really interesting, literally like female Sasquatches that have been taken and like held in captive in Oregon. Okay, old stories. You can go check that out. Okay, so let's get back to the deity, whose name is, I just shared, Amotkin. And there was something else, though, I wanted to share with you all. And, so it talks about, when I click on that name, it talks about their oral traditions. And I did a whole bunch of writing down about them. And similar to other cultures, but in this culture, their creation story is based on handed down oral traditions. Sometimes somebody might include some of their own personal story in it, but there was no taking away from the actual story of creation. Whereas a lot of changes have happened in our own stories, but you wouldn't see this in theirs. So, also in some of my readings, I found that some cultures didn't have like a religion. They would just have, and this is across the board, this is indigenous and this is what we might consider more modern, but the practice wasn't religion. There wasn't a specific deity. There was more a veneration to ancestors and to the land. Okay, now some of the other stuff. So this is what I heard from Great Mother. So we're seeing, the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing is because it's like her energy is full board, full. The remembrances are present. It's like we're just, you know how people talk about like if somebody gets an idea for a book, the idea will go to somebody else. That's what's happening with Great Mother. Like if Great Mother sends an idea to say me and I'm like, I'm distracted or I don't catch it, it's not just me. She's sending the same message to like all of us that are open to it. All of us that have ears to hear, so to speak. It is tremendous. It's hard because we're seeing like the world's response to her energy. And so some of it is very like, wow. And other parts of it is literally terrifying and upsetting. So with that, new information has been coming out about things that they have discovered in the area that overseas that is going through a turmoil. They have discovered ancient things relating to the Divine Mother. We are getting more proof about over here and how other places got certain information. Oh, how did they get it? By taking the Great Mothers. So where people are telling me, where's your proof? It's coming. Mother is the proof. Mother is the proof. The only way, the way things are today is because it worked before. They took away the remembrance or the knowledge of certain great mothers, prophetesses, sibyls, those who got messages, had prophetic dreams, had certain messages from trees and plants, and just la la la. And now it's not happening anymore. And this is a earthly expression of what is happening within the flesh woman. We're done. We're not, it is literally like worldwide, like we're done. We're not doing it anymore. She's not doing it anymore. She's not doing it anymore. No. So it's going to be a tough fight because there's going to be a lot of resistance and it's going to look really scary. And again, she knows. And she knows. She's got it. She's got this. And there will be those of us who will have some, it will just keep coming. The knowledge to the certain mothers and prophetesses and priestesses will keep coming. More are waking up, and those will help the shifts. Those will be what helps the shifts, and recognizing our own healing journeys, our own recognition of how to shift out of that old paradigm of male-centeredness or patriarchy, and really tapping in to the magics of and the elemental forces of the Great Mother and ourselves. Literally awakening the dragon. Alright, I feel like that was a little all over the place, but sometimes that happens. And I will be coming with more about indigenous deities and a little more about the Sailish clan, tribe, folks, the peoples. Because what I'm learning as I'm researching what are now known indigenous tribes, I'm learning about our own peoples because these descriptions and our waves. The old story was about the people on the Humboldt area, and how the women would go to the mountain for their power. I just feel like it's a cool remembrance that we're on. So thanks for being here and listening and sharing, and for your feedback and for your subscriptions and for all your support. Until next time.